Hey guys.
Hey,
Hello.
John.
Good. How about you?
Good, good.
Good.
Nice to see you guys.
Good to see you too.
I don't think we've met.
Good. How about you? I don't know if you guys could hear that just now. Could you hear
What?
it replay the beginning of the video?
No.
Okay.
I think I heard something small, but
So, by the way, welcome, Eric. Um, this is a historic event that you guys are present for. This is the first Code with Jason meetup session that is live streamed on YouTube.
oh wow, cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So
Hello, everybody.
we're famous. Yeah. Hi. I don't think there's anyone watching. Um, but bear with me a second. I think I'm going to open the YouTube tab. I'm new to this. I'm going to open the YouTube tab and then mute the video so it doesn't interfere. But bear with me a second. I think I'm going to. There we go. Okay. It says one person is watching right now. So there are many more people in the meetup than in the audience, but that's okay. Bear with me a moment. I'm going to tweet the URL to this and we'll see if we
Okay.
get any viewers. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay. The, and what the heck, I'll share my screen while I'm doing this.
You're just like Mr. Multitasker.
I guess so. Welcome, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How about you?
Good. Are we watching football on this meetup?
Yeah. Gonna change topics. I'm kind of bored of programming. We're gonna do
Okay.
sports from now on.
The Super Bowl's coming up, so good timing.
Yeah. Um, I was just telling the other guys, Ryan, this session is the first one ever that is being live streamed on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna let people know on Twitter, via Twitter. The Code with Jason meetup is happening. Hmm. Okay. Is happening now and being live streamed on YouTube. Um, uh, tune in? No, I don't like that.
You tune in.
Come join us. Sure, I'll just say that, I guess. Okay. Um, all right, that's that. And then I'm gonna go to Slack real quick and share it in the Ruby on Rails Slack. By the way, you guys all know about this, the Ruby on Rails Slack? Yeah, if you search for Ruby on Rails link Slack, Ruby on Rails link Slack,
Hmm.
it's this, you can join it, and there's like, I don't know, let's see, in the coding channel, there are a little over 20,000 people.
So you're gonna have 20,000 watchers of the Code with Jason Rails
Yep.
meetup Thursday night.
Is streaming live on YouTube right now. Okay. Close my email. Let's see how many viewers do we have now. Three. We went from one to three. Holy shit.
Crushing
Okay,
it.
I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now.
I think we have to stream on X to get more viewers nowadays.
Oh yeah? Well, not gonna do it. Um, so what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna work with Justin on some on something. We're gonna work together on one of Justin's projects. What do you got
Yeah,
for us, Justin?
cool. I have an interesting problem. Um, Basically, I'm building a music streaming platform, and the part of the exercise is I have a library of music that I want to get up into the cloud, and then I want to take the metadata that's inside of the music and then populate my database with it. So that
Mhm.
way I can like that way I have it all modeled up in my application. I can split everything up and I can display it and um I've written most of it. I think just before the call, I got it so that way I have the whole application modeled and then I have a folder of music. And the idea is that I run a script which basically tries to import all of those and then puts it into my application.
Okay.
Um,
And give us a little bit of background. You one of your hobbies is tango, is that right?
yes, I am a tango dancer. I've been dancing for a few years. And the first application, this is the second application that I'm developing other than like professional work. And the first application, I could maybe even share it. Uh, let's see, share screen. Post. Oh, I can't share screen.
Oh, sorry, let me give you privileges. Me and Rick are big into tango too, if you didn't know.
Really? What?
Yeah, not really. Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Alrighty, let's do it. Uh, I have to figure out the controls disappeared.
Hmm. If you hover in that area, do they come back?
Uh, no,
Please stand by, dear viewer. Technical difficulties.
no, it's okay. Ah, okay,
Well,
I got it.
Justin, just share your screen and then I can help you diagnose why you can't share your screen.
I'll have to be right back as
Okay.
usual because I have permissions. 1 second.
Welcome, Nelson. Welcome, Hassan.
Hey,
Am I saying your name right, by the way, Hassan?
yeah, that's right.
There's some hesitation. Maybe it's not exactly right.
No, it's exactly right.
Okay. Um, okay, Justin is coming back. Okay,
Great. I think we're gonna get it now.
wonderful.
Cool. So this was the application that I first developed, and it basically takes it scrapes YouTube and puts all of the Tango videos in one place. At the moment, there's about 300,000. And
Hmm.
the idea is uh basic it I take information that's useful, like dancer names, song information, like the artist, the song title, the genre, the year, and I allow users to filter on it. So you can see that in this there are people that have like 1,800 videos. You can click on that, and then the idea is that all of these filters dynamically update. And so it allows you to do certain things that YouTube doesn't allow you to do. Like you can search for like the oldest videos. So it's like really useful for a topic that, yeah, like basically if you're interested in something that's more than just the most recent videos, because YouTube basically always tries to show you what's new and then and usually what you've already seen before. and then you have to scroll a lot. And the idea is like with this, you can basically say like new to you, and then like oldest videos, and then you can make sure that you're only watching things that you've never seen before. And then you don't have any of the other noise of like people streaming like live coding sessions while you're trying to watch Tango or something.
Uh-huh.
And then I also do cool stuff where like I make better recommendations, and I also enhance the data. So everything's searchable. You can click on certain songs and then you can see like everyone who's performed to that song. It's yeah, it's a big search engine. And today I wanted to work on a problem that I have that it's basically involving music. So the idea is to do something kind of similar, but categorizing music.
Okay.
Let's see. So I will walk through the problem, I guess. So where do I start? So let's see. I have, where does, from the top level, I have a directory. I'll go from the top down. So the
Mhm.
idea is I have a directory importer. The idea behind this object is that I give it a directory. It'll scan through the whole directory and then call song import. So it takes every file and then it'll import the song.
Okay.
Then, so I go to the song importer. What the song importer does is it basically um, takes in an audio file. It only works for audio files, so it'll return if there's not an audio file. And it's in a transaction, so that way, if something fails in here, it basically rolls everything back that it
Okay.
does. And then what's represented here are all the entities inside of my application. So like basically I extract the metadata from the audio file, and then I'm basically mapping all of that across different entities in my application and creating them, kind of like a seeds file, I guess.
Okay.
And let's see here. So we have an audio data, metadata extractor. So then that goes to the audio processing area. And I'm using a library called FFmpeg, which is basically like an open source video and audio uh, software for compression. The audio converter basically is wrapping this. I don't even know what the library is written in, but I'm pretty sure it's not in Ruby.
Okay.
But basically, I call FFmpeg. I'm actually using a gem wrapper for it.
Mhm.
But basically, I apply the different formats that I want to use.
Mhm.
And there's one public method which basically calls convert. So I give it a file. I can also change these options, but I already have defaults. And then it gives me back a file.
Mhm.
Let's see here. Um, Cover art. So I have another thing that wraps FFmpeg. And what this does is it's basically extracting the image data from the audio file. So the cover images that you see when you have like your own music library are actually the image is actually encoded into the metadata. So you have like it's not referencing an external file. It's like the image is baked into the image and into the song.
Okay. And sorry, Justin, I was messing with the video settings and such. Have we seen the UI for this? Obviously, we saw the UI for Tango 2, but did you show it for the music program?
I didn't show it just yet. Uh, it's see if I can do it. So this is going to be a native application. So I'm actually using React Native,
Okay.
but the whole backend is in Rails. Let's see if this is gonna work.
Oh yeah, I remember now, Justin, you sent me an email asking me if I have ever worked with React Native. The answer is definitely not.
It's okay. Uh, Basically, this is the application. I mean, it's my React Native is not so good, but basically, um, I basically built a simple interface for Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically essentially a Spotify clone.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is going to be the application. Basically, I will be able to search and I'll give recommendations. So you can click on these buttons and have different playlists that are pre-made for you.
Mm-hmm.
You can listen to it, and then you can also search through the library. And the library is already live right now, so you can actually search for it. And actually, it's already deployed to the App Store, which is also cool.
Oh wow.
It was actually remarkably easy. I didn't have to write one line of Swift, and I was able to write it without doing React Native within a day or two, 2 days, I guess, to go
Oh.
from like zero to deploying this.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of tutorials online to do it.
Okay.
Um,
Wow.
so I'll get to the actual problem because I know that we're taking a lot of time on this, but
That's okay.
basically I also have FFmpeg, basically extracting the metadata. So I have these because it's doing a lot, like I have FFmpeg doing like three different things, one extracting the metadata, and you can see that the classes actually are quite large, mostly because there's a lot of data in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to keep everything to like single responsibility. Um, so one is converting the audio, one is extracting album art, and then one is extracting metadata. So we have and the part that I actually wanted to work through at the moment is has to do with testing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have is I have a I have a song importer test. Basically, I import songs into my database. This is the song importer where basically I handed an audio file and I create all of the entities in my application. And to do this, it's compressing the audio. So it doesn't take the raw audio that I give it because it's actually a lossless file, and I have to compress it. And you'll see what's happening here. So I'll walk through the test. I have one public method, which is import. So this will
Mm-hmm.
create all the entities in my application. I instantiate it. I give it a file.
Mm-hmm.
And then I basically assert that all the entities are created with the proper metadata, like whatever the most important field is.
Okay.
And then you'll see what happens. So it works already, but um, it's basically you're going to see it transcoding and running extremely slow because for each one of these assertions, it's having to run the test or run this compression each time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to figure out a way because this obviously takes way too long because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how many assertions I have, but basically it should be at most doing it twice. So like this would all, if I actually import this into my database and run it, it'll actually just run once per song. But the problem is that the way that I have it coded at the moment is that it's going each time it does one of these assertions, it's actually basically rerunning the transcoding process over again.
Got it.
Does that make
Okay.
sense? Does everyone follow? Anyone have questions?
Um, I believe it makes sense to me. There's probably a lot I still don't understand. Also, this is the first RSpec test I've ever seen that has English, Spanish, and French. So that's interesting. Um, okay. Song importer. When song is from a FLAC. And so you create, I don't understand what El Recodo song is. What's that all about?
This is so there's other DJ libraries online
Mm-hmm.
that basically it's an online table that someone made many years ago that has all the very good song information. And so the idea is that I am matching it with a song that exists in my database already. So like I have a very nice categorized song list, and the idea is to basically map that with the incoming song. So I already
Okay.
have this in my database. So I'm just like looking to see if there's something in my database that matches, and then I will make that relation. But the rest of them, basically, I'm creating like an artist. I create a record. I create a singer, a composer. You can see all of those here. But basically, essentially, the way that the test starts is I have my song importer. I give it a file and I call import. And that gives me my subject, which is an audio transfer. So like all I do here is I actually just create one song that matches the ID here. So 2476, 2476.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually what it's looking for. It just actually looks to see if these numbers match.
Okay.
Um, but essentially,
Mm-hmm.
I'm calling import on this class, and then I describe each entity that it creates. So it creates an audio file. It creates an audio transfer, which is basically a recording. It creates lyrics. It creates an orchestra. Um, But the problem is that because I have this split up, what it's doing is when it runs this, it basically transcodes the audio, creates all of those objects that I just talked about,
Mm-hmm.
and then I do one assertion, which basically checks, oh, is there an audio trend? Is there a recording? And then it again, it will transcode and then check, oh, is there a relation to the song? So what I would like to do is somehow make it only do it once, because like in the
Mm-hmm.
real world, when I do this, I'll run this on one file. It'll then create everything all at one time. So
Mm-hmm.
all of this happens in like not in serial, but like it's not having to go through the song each time. But the way that
Okay.
I'm testing it, it's causing it to do that.
Okay. Um, so testing is about specifying behavior. And so what I want to understand first is what behaviors do we want to specify in this test? And in order to understand what the answer to that question is, I want to understand song importer a little bit more. Can you take me to that song importer class?
Yes.
Okay. So obviously it doesn't import. Okay, and there's like you said, there's quite a lot of different kinds of data that gets generated.
And what's kind of hidden, I guess, at the moment in all of the long mess, the complicated parts that it does is it creates metadata. So this is doing one process with FFmpeg to extract the metadata. And then in buried inside of the class here, there's also uh, audio converter. So then I also pass the file, and then I attach that audio file at the very end. after
Okay.
creating entities.
Mhm.
And so this is actually what's being run multiple times, and this is also the thing that's extremely slow
Okay.
inside of the test. So I was curious, like maybe it actually, to make it more testable, I should actually change this class so that way it's like I could imagine having like an orchestrator class. So I could actually do like dependency injection. So that way
Mhm.
like I'm actually handing, like basically I would have an object that basically compresses the audio and then also gets the metadata and then hands that to another object, which
Mhm.
then does all of this. So then at that point I could hand it, I can hand it already a compressed audio. So I can stub the audio compression and then I can also give it the metadata that it needs.
Mhm.
Um,
That sounds like a potentially viable path.
but then the question is like, what it comes down to naming, I think. Uh,
Okay.
so I have two namespaces, which is like one is everything that has to do with audio processing, basically anything that's calling FFmpeg.
Okay.
And then I have this, I would call it probably the top level class is song importer.
Okay. I want to be very careful to diagnose before I prescribe. I want to make sure I understand everything I need to understand before I start giving prescriptions. Um, so obviously I know what it means in general to import something, um, but that could have not exactly the same meaning for every program, obviously. So like, what exactly does an import mean to you? Like, first of all, where are we importing something from?
So it's coming from, we have an audio file in a folder,
Hmm.
and then we want to basically take that audio file and put it inside of our Rails application, and then create all of the entities around that from the metadata. So
Okay.
we're taking an external audio source and then creating entities in our application.
Okay. So it seems to me like this import process is a multi-step process. Do you think that would be fair to say?
Yes, I would say the steps of it would be extracting the metadata, compressing the audio, and then creating the entities. So it's a
Okay.
three-step process.
Okay. And it seems to me that maybe some of these steps are fairly tightly coupled with one another inside the import process, which creates a situation where in order to test one thing, we have to involve other things that aren't necessarily super related, but because they're kind of tightly coupled in the import process, they come along for the ride, whether we would like them to or not.
Exactly.
So I think maybe what we want is looser coupling. And that relates back, I think, to the dependency injection idea that you said, Justin.
Mhm.
But I also want to be careful to make a distinction between what we want to do and how we want to accomplish it. Like, I feel pretty confident that what we want to do is achieve some looser coupling. I'm not sure how the best way is to do that. Um, but I think going down the path of trying for some looser coupling, however we might achieve that, is probably a fruitful path to try to go down. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I
Okay.
think like what would be important at the moment is actually just figuring out how to name things. Like you were talking about what does the importer do? Well, it's creating entities.
Hmm.
Um, it sounds like we need to have some sort of like orchestrator object. Um,
Okay. Maybe. I reserve judgment about that.
Or
Um,
maybe I actually just need to we hand it metadata and I guess if we're going to do dependency injection, then uh processed audio. And then at this point I could hand it the processed audio.
okay. Yeah,
What do you
maybe. Before we make any changes, what is your Git working state right now? Do you have a clean working state?
I can create another PR off of this. I'm in a PR at the moment, but I can
Mhm.
create another PR so that way everything changed after this would be in another Git file, or is that what you're talking about?
Maybe. Just
Everything
out
it
of
is backed up to
curiosity.
Git.
Just out of curiosity, this PR that you have going right now, what is this PR all about?
This is the PR is titled upload incoming database to Cloudflare. So
Mhm.
basic it in this PR, I've basically created uh these four classes or five.
Okay. Okay, so none of those classes exist on the main or master branch or whatever.
I no, not at the moment.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Yeah, then I guess why don't we create a new branch off of this branch?
Um, cool. Can also post a link to this to everybody in case people actually want to follow along.
Oh, okay.
Um, so this is the branch, and yeah,
Okay. And I'm gonna copy paste this into the YouTube chat for the benefit of our three viewers.
yeah, I should
Okay.
run this.
Okay. Yeah, let's look at that test. Okay. Hmm. All right. So El Ricoto, I feel like I'm saying that in a very American way. Um, El Ricoto is a service that exists for the purpose of getting metadata about music. Do I have that right?
Uh, yeah. So it's basically a table of on it's it's a music library. It's like an Excel sheet that already has a bunch of song information
Hmm.
nicely categorized. And so I'm
Hmm.
basically trying to figure out which one of those matches with that service.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, I understand that.
So that has to be created in the database first. So I'm not creating it from the metadata, I'm linking it. Everything else I create.
Um, okay. I believe I understand what El Ricoto is. What I don't yet understand is what this abstraction you've apparently created called El Ricoto song is. Tell me if this understanding is right. It's a bit of a guess, but do you take, if we're analogizing El Ricoto as like a giant Excel sheet with a bunch of music data, would an El Ricoto song in your database be like we take one row out of that Excel sheet and we put it in your database so it's kind of cached?
Exactly, yeah. So
Okay,
it's a one-to-one relation. Like each file should basically map to one row in the Excel sheet.
got it. Okay. Okay. I believe I understand that. And you're creating this El Recodo song in the before of this test because that's just a necessary part of having a song in the database.
Yeah, so like basically everything I import should have a reference to this, and that data I already have in my database. I already have an Excel spreadsheet, and so like basically I want to, it's like a checkoff list. So each time I import a file, like I should be checking something off the inventory.
Right. Okay. And where does the actual song itself get stored?
Uh, it's in so I have an audio object
Okay.
that has one attached file and it's uploaded to Cloudflare.
Okay.
So it's using active storage.
Um, the name audio makes me slightly uncomfortable, but I don't know if it should or not. Is there a such thing called an audio?
I guess it could be like an audio file would be more descriptive.
Well, I'm guessing that you called it audio because song is overly specific. Maybe not every piece of audio is a song necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
I haven't actually gone the like I have many different objects here. So I
Hmm.
actually have like an audio transfer, which is actually what this, which is each one of the files. So you can have a recording. The recording can then be transferred and that transfer has an audio.
Okay.
Uh, I think and I didn't want to get so much into the actual mapping into my database because I didn't think it was necessarily important in this test. And there's already a lot going on.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, Ryan can tell you if you end up with a few misnomers in your database, no big deal, right?
yeah, maybe. Um,
No, I only say that because well, me and you, Ryan, have had some conversations about like naming and stuff like that. Once something's named, it really gets baked in. So even though you're not asking my opinion on the names of the tables and stuff like that, um it can lead, and I speak from other experiences too, it can lead to deep, deep, lasting pain if you have names that are even just a little bit off.
yeah, I
What
could,
I would ask is, what would your customer or consumer of this app call it? Would they refer to it as an audio transfer? And if the
no.
answer to that is no, then you might want to think, what is the terminology that the consumer is using? Because there's, you just introduced this notion that if you ever have to communicate with that person, you're going to have to use a completely different language than what the code is written in. And that's where, to me, the problem gets introduced more often than not, right? It needs to be understood by both the programmer and the consumer.
Yeah, so the what they're actually gonna know as the consumer is probably a recording, which
Okay.
is basically a song. So like the added complexity, the reason why I'll explain just right now that so like a file represents an audio transfer. So that's when someone puts a vinyl down and then records the audio. And then an audio is basically when I compress it. So like if I'm streaming this, I could have like 128 kilobit per second audio file. I can have like a very high quality one, and I can have a hi-fi version. And so like the the actual entry point for the customer would be a recording. So like that's when somebody, it basically represents when the artist and the singer got together and they created a song. So that's actually what
Oh,
people would be searching for. But then like the audio transfer, like basically because many different entities can basically transfer that audio. So you can have a different company that recorded it and another company that recorded it. Because nowadays, like you actually have like a master like version, but back in
mm.
the day, all of it was analog, so they have a disc, and then many people have to have different equipment, and you can have different versions of taking it off.
Okay. This is actually fascinating. And I
Yeah,
think these
it gets
nuances really
complicated.
matter too.
I mean, I think I spent a lot of time actually like really trying to get very specific on the naming of modeling all of this. Um,
Hmm.
I found it interesting though, as you were talking, that you use different words in explaining it to us than what you chose as the class name. So for example, you use the word compression or compressed version to describe if I got this right, audio transfer.
or audio.
I might audio. Okay, so I missed
The
it
audio
slightly, but
transfer
right.
gets compressed into an audio file, which has like all the metadata, like the sample rate, the bit rate, the all sorts of information about the actual audio file, which is also, yeah, it's,
Yeah, like Jason said, it's fascinating. Not a space that I'm super familiar with. So I'm trying to reserve myself here.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, hmm. Um, so Justin, part of my role on this earth is to exasperate people and test their patience. So again, even though you didn't ask my opinion about this, I do want to really scrutinize the hell out of the naming and the data model and all that stuff because if okay, I'll say this also, Justin. Out of the consulting clients and the various students I've worked with and stuff like that, a lot of them come to me for help with testing, and then we discover that underneath that, that really the biggest pain is um, is a lack of integrity in the data model or domain model, you might say. And any place there's like a tiny little infidelity from reality, it like that little pain multiplies as time goes on and it gets harder and harder to change.
Mhm.
Um, so first of all, recording, recording, is that really the word for that? Because it's like in this model, a recording can have multiple different audios. And are all those audios the same recording? Just different versions of it?
Yeah, so the recording is like you can have so basically if we were to rec have a mic and music and we
Hmm.
record something, that's the recording.
Yeah. Okay.
The audio transfer is the actual um, from the vinyl record, so the recording, that's actually putting it on the player and then doing this transfer thing to convert it into digital, and then I
Yeah, yeah.
as an audio file.
Okay, so maybe recording is the right name. Okay. Um, and then audio. Um, that's the one I'm most skeptical of because I've never heard somebody talk about any such thing as an audio. Um, and
Yeah.
so like, is that really, is there a more fitting name for that?
I maybe an audio file.
But it's not a file. It has a file. And the fact that it has a file tells me that it is not a file.
Yeah. Hmm.
But maybe it's a file. Can you show me the audio class once more?
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. Yeah, it has a duration format. Um, one thought is maybe this is a
It has a bit rate basically is like kind of the defining element is like,
hmm,
okay, what format, basically the format and the bit rate. So it's like, what quality is this?
mm-hmm,
I mean, I used the word compressed audio before,
mm-hmm.
but this also could be uncompressed actually. So,
I see. Um, just brainstorming, it could be an audio version.
mhm.
Hmm, it could be an audio capture.
What do you think Spotify calls it?
Yeah, I was thinking that. I don't know. Um, Justin, are you a Chat GPT user?
I'm an addict. Did you say ChatGPT?
Yeah, this seems like a great use case.
Yeah, yeah, we can give it a shot. Let's see if it's actually it was not really working earlier. Okay.
Yeah, Rick says audio track. The term track came to mind. I
Uh-huh.
think that could be a good candidate, but I think track would be like analogous to recording more so than the different audio versions. Oh, no, Justin, let's not bias it. Let's ask it like just like hmm, when you have like music and you could have like different representations of that piece of music with different bit rates, what would you call that thing?
Uh, do.
Audio encoding, audio compression format, but you said it's not necessarily compressed, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with audio encoding?
Hmm. Uh, encoded audio. Interesting. Okay, so we are getting a bit more descriptive here.
Mm-hmm. Is it encoded? Is
I
that
think
like truthful?
all audio is encoded in some form. I don't know the specifics, but like, I mean, you're getting into binary code that somehow is interpreted by computer to create audio sound. So, and all of those are probably linked to, I don't even know what an encoding necessarily would refer to,
Hmm.
like the language, like,
Well, is a track on a record an encoding, even though it's an analog encoding?
um, okay, so it refers to digital data, so probably not.
Maybe the word for what it is on a record is just an analog.
Where to refer to the audio, the converted audio.
No, unconverted. I mean, oh, maybe you're asking a different question, but I just mean like on an actual vinyl record, would you call that an encoding or would you call it something else?
Analog
Analog encoding.
encoding. Okay. So it's a digital encoding.
Well, okay, so what I think we're after is a word that is general enough to be accurate for any of the different kinds of things that it represents, um, but no more general than necessary, and also not so specific that it becomes untruthful in certain cases. So, like, if we went with encoding, for example, I feel like that would always be truthful.
Yeah.
Like, every single one of those is an encoding. I don't know if it's the right word. Hmm.
I mean, I definitely think audio could be a bit generic for sure.
Hmm. Also, audio variant. I don't hate that.
That would be more like in the active store. That's how active storage refers to it.
Refers to
So,
what?
so you have like active storage images has one attached image, and then like if you want to compress it into a blob,
Hmm.
so to have different representations. So basically in like JPEG format or WebP, or you have someone uploads a lossless, amazing avatar, but you don't necessarily want to render that to everybody who sees that avatar.
Hmm.
So uh you would have some sort of conversion for that. I think I have that somewhere. Um, like
Okay, so
a user has a variant in the terms of Rails, or if a
okay.
club has a variant.
And are you pointing this out, Justin, to emphasize that maybe this is a good idea because it already has this like parallel when it comes to images?
Yeah, I mean I'm curious. It's interesting that they decided to call it a variant. I wouldn't necessarily say that's the most descriptive term uh, in the Rails stack. And I thought, yeah, I gravitated when you said that was because it like someone who else who is trying to come up with how to name things in Rails thought it was a good idea to call it a variant. And there's a parallel between the I'm guessing it's image encoding or
Yeah.
image format, and they called it a variant. So there's like different variants. I feel like we're also getting into a bit of Marvel, and Marvel, they also have a bunch of variants, right?
Oh,
Mutants and or I think it was in Loki.
okay. I know nothing of these things, so I'll take your word for it.
Okay. Uh,
Um, okay. And obviously we don't have to commit to anything at this moment, but
yeah, but definitely it's really good that you brought it up. I mean, I don't think it necessarily changes the entity or how it's modeled, but it's definitely more descriptive, which I think is good.
yeah.
Like I was thinking of it as an audio file, which is why I kept it as audio because it has a file. But it could definitely,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it is a file. I think if we call it a variant, it's an audio variant, and the variant has, among other properties, a file.
yeah,
Um, okay. Well, I officially cast my vote for audio variant, but again, we don't have to actually do anything right now.
yeah, you got it. So I thought maybe it might help with the discussion
Mm-hmm.
that because there's to actually just draw it out, and I think the variant here isn't necessarily so important. So um, I have an import, and then let's see, we have an artist, we have a lyricist, we have lyrics. So basically, I would say that this is our Rails application. There's more entities than this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the song importer is the bridge, which is importing, um, and I can, right? So we have an audio file, and I don't know if yeah, I would guess this is a good way of modeling it. The audio file is basically loaded into each one of these objects, which does
Mm-hmm.
one thing. This one returns cover art. This one returns compressed audio, and then this one returns metadata. So
Mm-hmm.
it's this importer is basically calling each one of these, and then it takes in these elements, and then it creates all of this in our Rails app.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think I have not answered your original question at all, really, but I'm not sorry. Um,
Yeah.
Orion says you gotta run. All right, thanks for coming, Ryan. See you next time. Um, yeah, so we're getting pretty close to time to wrap up, but I think our two accomplishments today are one, we tentatively discovered that maybe audio variant is a more fitting name than audio for that model. Um,
Mhm.
which, if this turns into a successful commercial application, that may be a decision that saves you tens of thousands of dollars and endless headache and such. So I'd say that's 45 minutes well spent on a good
Yeah.
name, if that ends up being a good name. And the other thing is, again, tentatively, I think we decided that what we want for that importer class, if I remember correctly,
Mhm.
is some looser coupling so that we can separately test the whatever that expensive operation was, we can test that separately from those non-expensive operations so that we don't have to bring the expensive operation into the picture every time we want to test anything.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Well, Justin, you have my Calendly link. You are hereby invited to grab as many times on the calendar as you want. I would love to do this again in the future.
Yeah.
Um, by the way, announcement for everybody, even though I just changed the time for the Code with Jason meetup, I'm changing it again because I picked a bad time. The new time will be 6 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, as opposed to 7 p.m. Eastern on Thursdays. So henceforth, that will be the time. I'll be emailing that announcement, of course, also. But just so you guys know, and just so you know, Justin, that's why you'll see that different time on the Calendly link. I'll also say if anybody ever wants to come do what Justin's doing right now and have me work with you on your code, feel free to contact me at jason@codewithjason.com and you can come to the meetup. My rule is that I'll help anybody for free if it's in public. And if you want help privately, that costs money. And helping you privately is also something I do. You can get a hold of me the same way, jason@codewithjason.com. And this is exactly what I do for my consulting work. I help people with testing and with their code, with their domain modeling, that kind of thing. Rick says, very cool project, Justin. And I agree, this is a really cool, interesting project. And I'm looking forward to seeing your progress on it. Thanks, Justin, and thanks everybody else. And I'll
Thank
see you
you
guys
for
next
having
time.
me.